Yo, this shit's gonna sound wild, but hear me out. Back when I was in high school, there was this weird-ass kid who kept telling everyone he was a fucking demon. I ain't even comfortable writing his real name, so I'ma just call him Blade, even though his actual name sounded like some fancy-ass Shakespeare bullshit. This dude was mad awkward, always walking around with this empty-ass stare that creeped out even the teachers. He wore the same nasty-ass black hoodie every single day, no cap. I'm talking never wash that shit, cause he always stank like hot garbage. Blade was kinda short, average looking, but you couldn't really tell cause he always had his hood up and never took off his shades, even inside. Teachers eventually stopped giving a fuck cause he never listened anyway. Now here's where shit gets weird. Blade didn't have no friends, but he'd randomly decide to adopt people. He'd just roll up to you one day and be like, "You're adopted," meaning you were part of his crew or some shit. Supposedly, this would keep you safe from him or whatever. He didn't fuck with many people though, so not many got adopted. I was one of the few, probably cause he had a thing for me. None of us believed his demon bullshit. We all just figured he was some fucked up kid with problems. Oh yeah, this all went down in Compton, where I grew up. Another chick I used to fuck with, Tasha, had also been adopted by him. Blade's crush on her was mad obvious. One day, me, Tasha, Keisha, and Dre were chilling on the bleachers behind our school, just fucking around. Somehow we started talking about Blade's crush on Tasha. We were all laughing our asses off, and Tasha was looking hella embarrassed. We had this nickname for Blade cause his real name was too much. But this time, Keisha slipped up and said his real name 3 times. I swear on everything. Blade appeared out of fucking nowhere and jumped on top of the bleachers with a baseball bat. It wasn't scary like a horror movie, but that shit was unsettling as fuck. We shut up real quick, worried he might have heard us talking shit. He didn't say nothing, just stared at us like a creep. I gave him a little wave, and he nodded at me before bouncing. After we knew he was gone, we all bust out laughing, trying to play off how weird that shit was. But deep down, I was still spooked. The next time shit got real was way creepier. I was at Keisha's crib, just us two in her room. Her folks were home. We were just chatting, and again, Blade's name came up 3 times. Not even 10 minutes later, we heard the front door slam. Confused as hell, we went downstairs to see what was up. Keisha's mom had already gotten to the door. We turned the corner and saw Blade just standing there, talking to Keisha's mom. She asked him what he was doing there, and this fool deadass said, "I was summoned." Keisha's mom made some small talk before telling him to bounce, which he did without a word. The reason more alarms weren't going off was because Keisha's mom actually knew Blade and felt bad for him, but me and Keisha weren't as chill. We went back upstairs, talking about how fucking creepy that was. Then we made the connection. He seemed to pop up when his name was said 3 times. I know it sounds crazy, but we'd seen some unexplainable shit. How else could we make sense of it? We told all our homies about it the next day, and our squad swore to never say his name 3 times in one convo again. Things were chill for a few months, and I started thinking maybe I was tripping. That is, until we were all hanging at my boy Marcus's spot. We were on his back porch when Blade came up again. Despite us trying to convince him, Marcus wasn't buying our story. To prove his point, he said Blade's name 3 times in one sentence. When nothing happened, Marcus grinned and called us dumbasses for believing that shit. I was annoyed, but part of me was relieved. I spoke too soon though, because a few minutes later, Blade hopped over Marcus's fence. Marcus saw him first and stopped mid-sentence. The rest of us went dead silent, nervous about what Blade might do. We watched as he stared at us for a few seconds before jumping back over the fence and disappearing. Marcus started freaking out and accused us of setting him up. We told him we begged him not to say shit. We sat there quiet for a minute before Marcus told us all to get the fuck out, clearly shook from what went down. The last time I dealt with Blade was the scariest and most fucked up. It was the only time I felt like I might actually die. A few months after the Marcus incident, I was home alone one night. My parents never left the house back then, so this was rare. I decided to take advantage and invited this dude I'd been talking to over. He was kinda lame, but so were most of the guys I was messing with back then. We were chilling in my room. and it was raining a little outside. After a while, he mentioned something about Blade, which made me visibly cringe. He got confused, so I explained the situation. He laughed his ass off and said he was going to say Blade's name to scare me. I begged him not to, but this dumbass did it anyway. Only this time, he didn't just say it, he screamed Blade's name 3 times at the top of his lungs. There was no delay this time. The moment he finished yelling, I could hear the rain pick up outside. A few seconds later, there was a flash of lightning. I started to freak the fuck out. The guy I was with actually seemed sorry and said it was probably just a crazy coincidence. I cussed him out and ran to my window to look at the storm. I looked down at my driveway and screamed when I saw a silhouette of someone looking up at my window. It was too dark and stormy to know for sure, but I was 99% certain it was Blade. I shut the blinds and rushed downstairs to make sure all the doors were locked. After locking the back door, I saw that person again. Only this time he was standing motionless in my front yard. I felt a panic attack coming on, and I knew Blade was going to find a way inside. I started screaming, "I'm adopted," over and over, hoping that would do something. I know there was no way he'd have been able to hear me, but my brain was all over the place. The guy I was with ran down the stairs a few seconds later and picked me up off the kitchen floor, trying to comfort me. I looked out the window again, and Blade was gone. The storm was still coming down like crazy though, but it's not like I was going to search the property anyway. The next morning after that guy had left, I went out to check my yard. To my horror, I found some creepy shit in the far corner of my backyard. It was Blade's hoodie, and wrapped inside were some random belongings of mine that I thought I'd lost. My parents were gone another day, and I was too scared to call the cops. I figured I'd show my parents what I found after school the next day and they'd handle it. I never had to, though. The next day, Blade didn't show up to school. He didn't show up the day after that either. None of us ever saw him again, and no one knew what happened to him. My parents still live in the same house, which is something I think about a lot. I know this ain't your typical scary story, but I'm not sure where else to vent about this shit. A few people from school told me they caught Blade hiding and eavesdropping on their convos, which could explain how he was able to show up out of nowhere. As I've gotten older and thought back on the whole thing, I think what makes the most sense is Blade was just a mentally ill stalker who followed me and possibly other girls around. That's why he was always able to appear when his name was brought up. It freaks me the fuck out just imagining him following me around all over the place, listening to me. I don't even want to wonder where he is now.